Everyone, welcome in the new interview at Acreates, the channel for interviews and tutorials. This time I will have an interview with some amazing French students who won the GDC Game Awards as the best student game. I was impressed by the quality and I'm going to ask them all the questions that I have in mind and how it all came to life. Could you please just introduce yourself in a short sentence?
My name is Francois and I was a programmer and the creative director on the project.
Hi, my name is André. I was the environment artist on Live Adventure.
Hi there, I was Sebastian. I'm Sebastian, sorry, and I was gameplay programmer on the project. So I worked a lot on the 3Cs, on the characters and stuff like that.
Hello, my name is Vincent, and I was a level designer on the project, and with 3 other level designers working on this game.
Okay, so this is just a small part of the group, basically. How many people were working on this game?
Yeah, the team development was composed of 11 people. But with the externals, we were 17 in the end.
Okay, so you kind of outsource it quite a lot.
Yes.
Audio work, like we need some sound designers, music composers, and also voice actors. So we had like one main sound designer and composer, mostly for the mixing and stuff like that. We had another sound designer who created most of the sounds, like for the gameplay and stuff like that. And we had 4 voice actors, 2 for the main characters and 2 for other characters, like the parents.
Like you were a student game, right? So was there a kind of assignment?
It was our graduation project, actually.
A graduation project you can choose by yourself to make a game, right? So what were your requirements?
Well, in the middle of our 4th year, we have a meeting where everyone is invited to propose a project to be developed during the end of our 4th year till the end of our 5th year, so our graduation. So everyone was able to pose a project and the school kept 5 projects, and those projects were developed until our graduations.
Okay, so you were so super free in what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, 7 projects actually. It's really pretty free on the game. Just the requirements is to produce vertical slice. Like at the end of the year, you have to 15 to 30 minutes of gameplay of the quality of a final game, as close as possible.
Okay, and how did you end to be, by the way, at GDC?
We sent our submission to the AGF. It's pretty common at the end of the 5th year that you send your game to many contests like that in the goal of being nominated like that. So it's pretty common, like, we could ask our teachers and stuff like that about a list of important contests. Generally, we just send the game at as much contest as possible.
And you won at the biggest one. Nice. Well done. You work on this for a year, right? So how long is the phase of your concept phase? And when did you start polishing for?
If I remember correctly, I think the concept part lasts like a month. It depends. First, you propose your concept, and then after the first selection, they keep around 17 or 12 concepts. After that, you need to compose a team of 1 programmer, 1 designer, and 1 art that will work on that concept, rework it in a pre-production stage. And then there's another selection, and at the end of that selection, 7 projects just stays for the rest of the year. So I guess I could say like a month.
1 to 2 months tops. Just to be clear, like that was some kind of pre-production, because it was some kind of selections of projects. The entire pre-production process, like wandering through ideas and trying to define the artistic direction and stuff like that, and to overcome technical issues of post-production, actually lasts like 4 extra months. With that kind of experimental design, it was really important to have that time to work on it, because like we wouldn't have come with something of that quality if we just had like 2 months of preparation and you have to get the idea, and if it's not good enough, just keep going with it and that's it.
Yeah, like did the concept change a lot over time?
Yeah, especially for us, because there was a lot of unanswered questions, and we were wondering a lot about how the controller could be used by the players. So that's why our pre-production period was so long, because we iterate a lot about how the player is actually controlling the two characters and what are the best mechanics we can use. So that's why it took so long for us to be at a stage of production, really.
Yeah, because like the camera is quite challenging as well at first. Like, wait, if I walk with this character, then suddenly changing the whole thing. So that's also like kind of the puzzle element in the game, right? Or what was the reason behind of those controls?
Yeah. So why did we decided to go with that control scheme, right? So the basic idea was from Francois because he's from cinema studies. He's really fond of that kind of stuff, and so he wanted to put that kind of energy, the frame and stuff like that inside of the game. The basic idea was like, okay, so you have a main character and you're going to film it through a camera that is diegetic and tangible, in which is going to be held by a character. And so that was the real start of it, because pretty simple principle can open to a lot of possibilities. Like you can have a scene like in our game where the cameraman is just like trapped upside down, and now the camera is upside down, and you have to deal with that. Or also like there was that pretty funny prototype we made where the filmed character is on a jet ski and cameraman one is attracted like on a, it's like surfing and attached to a rope. So you can have that scene where he's just being attracted by the jet ski. There were lots of possible ideas using that specific basic principle. Ideas after ideas, discussing with the team, we ended up with the idea of two siblings, pretty young explorers, going on the path of their parents. Basically still the same concepts, but we just matured the core elements of the story and stuff like that.
Yeah, it felt like, when I was playing it felt really a bit like a demo. Give away your camera and then you suddenly are walking away, right? So I was like, oh, it's already finished, basically. Finally got the controls!
A lot of people tell us that they like to have more, and we would love to get more of it. Of course, with a 1 year of production with students and 11 people, it wasn't possible to get more than that. But we would like to maybe in the near future get more of it.
Okay, so you will continue with the game.
Yeah, well, it's actually in our plans to maybe found a studio together and think about the future of that game together to make it a longer game, maybe a 6 hours adventure.
Nice. Yeah, and like Andre, you made the art, right, for the game. So how did you came with this art style?
We decided together to do a colorful game because we wanted the game accessible for everyone, because the gameplay is hard to play at the beginning. So yeah, we wanted a style very cartoony and good colorful visual stuff like that.
And so, like, who is basically your target audience for this game?
Yeah, we wanted a style for everyone.
Everyone is always dangerous to say. Are you already graduated, mister?
No, we still had that intention to like have some kind of good old vibes, like 80s, 20s adventure games, of course with a more modern style. Mm-hmm. But there was that atmosphere of like two younglings going on adventure. Actually, a little bit like Gravity Falls or stuff like that. Really sharing, it's like just good vibes and stuff. I guess that's also what the artistic direction wanted to give.
And what have you learned by making this game?
Actually, how to make some kind of real big project from A to Z to Z. We made a lot of projects like that during our 5 years of studies, but it wasn't that important. It wasn't that level of quality or stuff like that. So we learned because we just made a game, and so we learned how to make a game. Of course, we had still a lot to learn about like technical stuff and things like that. It's not some kind of game that you might be able to create in the industry because it's pretty risky, actually. So it's also cool to be able to have that freedom and to challenge a concept that might seem rather risky, but can really be really cool.
Indeed, but I like the way that even in the game you said this. Basically, you said the point like if you walk together, it's easier to walk. I was like, yes. So you really know what you're doing.
As a programmer on the project, working directly on the 3 Cs, like on the characters, the control and stuff like that, it was really challenging. If you take the basic of it, it's like moving two characters with a focus on one of the two characters, and like programmatically, it's really easy to do that. Like it take you 1 hour with Unreal, but how to make it good, it was actually the real challenge, and we spent hours and days and months working on that. And Vincent is back.
Vincent is back.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's the internet. Because you are the designer, so you know all the reason why you guys came up with this idea, right?
A part of it.
So yeah, I mean, we were talking about like the controllers and that kind of stuff. Was it at the first part the same group? Or was it like other people were merged into a group?
It depends of any member of the team. Concept was initially made by François. Then we created a small group around this concept, and then we established the core and the complete team when the concept fully and completely validated by our school. But during those different phases, the concept really changed a lot. I remember that one of the first idea of Live Adventure was not to follow the journey of two siblings, but we were following the story of a crazy cameraman and an action hero as a third-person character. We explore a lot crazy different ideas. At first, we were like wondering if an action gameplay would fit a second-person setting, asking ourselves what is a second-person game because it doesn't really exist. So we have to explore and experiment a lot of different ideas before we came up with what today is Live Adventure.
What was the moment that you were like, yes, this is going to be a game?
It's because we made a lot of different prototypes to experiment what is working and what is not. We had, for example, one of our earliest prototype was a combat system with the cameraman that were following a character that were fighting a lot of different characters on the screen. But we realized pretty quickly that it didn't fit the concept because we needed a more peaceful and slow gameplay to make the player learn a kind of control scheme. Like I said, the second person doesn't really exist. Our first priority was to teach the player how to control two characters and how to realize that the camera is also a character, because in most of the games the camera are invisible, and we are working and designing camera to be invisible, but it's not the case of Live Adventure. It's the opposite.
It even has a name, so yeah, that's interesting. The first time that like the camera gets a name.
Yeah, the camera is like the player in a kind of sense, and it's supported by both gameplay and the narrative. So it was one of our pillars to merge gameplay and the story. That's also why we choose to focus on the puzzle adventure game instead of an action adventure, because we needed to make a gameplay that explores the relationship between two characters, the side of our team and our experience. We prefer to focus on this kind of gameplay.
For all of you, like, what was the moment that you were like, this is so much of a struggle? Yeah, like that point of like, oh, it feels almost like a drag, or maybe everything went alright, but it's game development. That's not often the case. So what was the point, and how did it shift it?
I think there were some different points. Like there was that moment when we had a week to work really intensely on the controller, and we made a lot of controls. Like one of the ideas was like so we have a second person game, and Vincent already knows which control scheme I'm going to talk about. We have a second person game. We want to make it as easy to play and easy to learn as possible, as natural to learn as possible. So how can we emulate and simulate a third person camera? So in a third person game, you have the character and you have the camera, and when you go up and down, it's going to do that, like it's just moving up and down the camera. So how about we just try that? So right and left is going to be turn around, like in a third person game, and you are going to move the character that is holding the camera. But moving up and down is just going to, like, I don't know, you have the camera on some kind of a stick, and you can just put it up or down. And it was like, okay, so now how do I just move forward with the camera, and how do I just move the character that is holding the camera? So there were lots of really weird ideas like that were like, okay, but that part doesn't fit, and so finally we just went with the easiest one. You move around, like it's going to be really closer to a third person game control with a first person game control, because you move the first person character as you would move a first person character character and not as you would move a third-person camera game. And that actually went pretty well with, of course, a lot of work with assists and stuff. So that was that week when we had the occasion to test a lot and find which idea was the best for the control schemes. And maybe there was some other turning points, like the first time I heard voices in the game, and I was like, oh my god, someone's speaking in my head now in the game. And that was like just incredible to hear the voice of the characters. And also the artists had to create some kind of a art demo, the small scene that you had to create in the first place with the pillars and stuff. Like, Andre, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was for the first part of the year. We had to find the artistic direction. So we made a small scene with all the primary element we had in the game, like the architecture, all the foliage, the lighting, and we tried to do something that works for a small scene and the characters inside the scene.
Yeah, about that, like, because when you're playing the game, you can take pictures, right? I didn't that much, but like, what was the reason behind of taking pictures? Can you do a lot with the pictures, or was that the idea that has been in the Moscow list?
It was this idea was implemented to improve and enhance the player fantasy of holding a real camera. Because with a camera you can record, you can take pictures, and we wanted to embrace that feeling of taking pictures of your own journey. It was also one of our design pillars to make the character feels immersive. We want players to feel like they are holding the camera, and they can play with that fantasy of recording a journey through an exotic and extraordinary world. That's why we implemented this feature. But I think that we should have exploited with more depth through the gameplay. For example, we could create a puzzle with picture features. We didn't implement it because we didn't have the time, but we kept the feature.
Yeah, we did keep some. We did test some of those ideas actually. I remember the one mechanic where you have a picture that is decomposed in the environment, and you have to find the right position to have the full picture. And if you take a picture, then the image is popping in 3D in your world. So that was actually something we tested in the game, but in the end we felt like it was not using the controller at best, because at this moment then the other character is not doing anything. And even though we could thought about movement, having the other character to move something to get the picture right, decided that it was too much time to test these features. So we ended up putting it aside. We kept the camera picture feature to just enhance that feeling.
Yeah, and also we kept some soft principle of that. Like, we knew the thing with the picture that you can take and is going to form something in the environment. There was that notion of point of view and of perspective that we of course kept, so that you can rotate and take an element from the environment and place it elsewhere. Somehow it's the same idea of playing with perspective. It was still something that inspired us for other mechanics.
You had quite a lot of skillful people, right? But you also, when you didn't have the skill, you kind of outsourced, right? Or was it other reasons?
There were actually two main reasons we outsourced. Firstly, it was the skill issue. None of us had the skill to sound edit all the sounds in the game, but also the time to edit it. It was actually a huge time saver to have others doing the sounds on our game. And the second reason for voice actors is actually a design reason. We realized when we implement the subtitles, we realized that people couldn't read and play the game at the same time. So we were we need something to do. We want to have this relationship displayed for the player, because it's part of the experience. That's why we actually start looking pretty early in the pre-production. We start doing casting. Then we encounter Ariana and Carmina, who were real and Lens. And thanks to them, the characters our main characters had voices.
So basically, if I hear correctly, you only outsourced the audio.
Mostly, we also had some small helps for the artists, on small assets and stuff like that. I think we had 3 outsourcers for that.
No, just 2. One did props, and one did a texture for the landscape. It was hard to guide them and to work. So we decided to don't put them a lot of work.
Were you working at school?
Yeah, was actually we had a lot of luck for that, because even regarding the sanitary restrictions and stuff like that, most of the year we spent it together, like at the same place, being able to just get up and talk to the people you need to talk to, and it was both really practical to like be able to communicate more easily, and also it was like so motivating to just have people around us and working on the same project, and we actually had a great energy on the project. We were just like all really good friends, and it was really cool to work with all the members of the team. Like we really had a great energy.
And everyone is going to continue with the game?
It's pretty hard to tell. Like I think that most of the members of the team would like to keep working on it. It's more or less going to be a question of timing and opportunities. Like I'm currently working on a project that might be released in like 2024 or 25, and maybe we'd like to start working on the game like in 2023. Personally, I still don't know which one I'm going to choose, if that's happening so early. Yeah, I think that everyone is wanting to keep working on the project. It's going to depend on the context, I guess.
Yeah, like Vincent, I already asked Sebastian, what was your learning point?
Use gameplay to emulate some strong emotions. Live Aid is full of moments where gameplay is used for an emotional purpose. For example, in the beginning of a game, there is a sequence. Two characters are falling in a really huge tree, and then the camera is upside down. And it's really disorienting, and it's completely new. It was to emulate the feeling of covering a completely new world for them. Also, in the end of the game, the characters leave their camera behind, and then you have to use both joystick to move the two characters towards the next part of their adventure. So it's full of moments like that where you use the specificities of our gameplay to create a specific emotion. But I also learned a lot how to work with a team of level designers, environment artists, and how can we cooperate and communicate to create some more immersive and beautiful environments.
And Andre, for you, like, what was your thing that you I just experienced this is amazing, I feel a stronger Andre now?
The most important thing I learned, it's important to work with the level designer as an environment artist, because the art, the 3D art, has to support the level design.
And François?
I think just creating like meaningful characters and making people care about them is actually the thing I've learned the most from the game. It's something that couldn't have been done without everyone, especially because everyone worked so hard on their side that the game just came alive, and also the characters felt real. It was really hard to make the player feel an emotion, especially from the one who was holding the camera. We really worked hard on trying to make the player care about them at each step of their adventures. It's especially hard to think about a story with a game that has so many issues in designs. I mean, because during our pre-production, every time we were like expanding the pre-production period, we were thinking like, okay, so maybe we'll have to cut some content. And in the end, we were like thinking, okay, but what is going to be the story of our characters in the end? What will be the impact of our characters? And so we had all those different outcomes of what the end could be, like what would be the evolution of the characters? Will there be an evolution? What is the last meaningful act we would experience as a player? We created a connection. We made them feel something that in the end, it felt like, oh, we have to leave them behind. You know, we have to move forward. They're moving forward without us. That was the emotion we wanted to have.
I see. And it was like, I hear from Vincent, it was your idea. Like, did you had some inspirations?
Concept was actually like a mix of my background studies. I've always looking of what will be my place in the industry, what will I do, and I've done cinema studies before my video game studies. And I was thinking like, I want to make a game where I can feel connection. And I was thinking at the time about Brothers Tale of Two Sons, which is a game where you control two characters at once, and you have this moment in the game where you lose these connections between the brothers, and I felt like this was the most amazing.
Seeing that you were dragging that body, and you were like, oh no, my brother. I see.
Yeah, it's really a mix of I wanted to create an experience that strong and having a cinematic look, a sense of creating your story by filming it. Really having this feeling of I'm filming an adventure and I'm going and I'm trying to get as much action as it is possible. I wanted to create a memory actually in the end, and filming it felt for me like the most natural way.
If you would have all the money and time in the world, like what would you change about the product?
You want to start, Vincent?
So many different things. So many. Oh my god.
I think that some of the stuff we really would have liked to do more. What we call the exotic gameplay scenes. We would have loved to do what they do in It Takes Two. Just like, oh, wouldn't it be just so cool if we could fight like a squirrel, like an old fight game? Like, let's do it in a second person way. Like just have a lot of different ideas and exotic scenes and put it in the game and take advantage of that second person camera and take advantage of the really cinematographic scenes and gameplay scenes that could be created. I think that this is one of the things I would have loved to have more in the game. That was personal. Maybe the other.
Definitely. Definitely, I have the same feeling.
But Vincent wants to say something else.
Yeah, if we had all the time and all the money, I think I would like to take some time to experiment how we can replace our current cutscenes in the games. Because in the game there are a lot of small cutscenes, and we made those cutscenes to just advance the plot or to make sure that some key moments are told and experienced by the player. But in the other hand, we created a gameplay where you have a free and full control of a camera, and sometimes we just like take this control from the player, and it doesn't really make sense with our gameplay. So I think we should prototype and experiment different ways to just tell our story without completely scripted cutscenes. And one of the other thing I would like to improve in the game is the interaction between the two characters. If you look at the game right now, there isn't a lot of direct interaction between the characters, like maybe they have to exchange the camera or to climb something together. We have some mechanics like the grappling hooks to emulate this design pillar, but we didn't have the time and the experience to develop some features that could improve this huge pillar of the experience.
Okay, and Andre, are you like, if you would change something, what would be?
Full episode on the temple, because the main story take place in the forest, and we wanted how can I say that, a disorienting story, and I think the temple can be a good idea. We want a maze for a temple, so yeah, a biggest story in a temple.
Are there some like hidden eggs in the game? Because I know like a lot of, if you work so long on the game, you often just add some of the juicy stuff inside. Like, what is the hidden egg that I should have noticed?
If you didn't take that much picture, maybe you didn't got it. We actually wanted to make some picture-driven achievements, and that's we can say that it's actually the Easter egg of the game. Because when you take a specific picture, like a picture that we wanted you to take, it's going to, if you're playing on Steam, it's going to unlock an achievement, and it's going to make a more specific picture with a specific border and a specific name and stuff like that. Like if you were like, just numerically scrapbooking, like for example, there's that plant, the valve plant. If you get close to it, it's going to close the valves. And if you get close to it and take a picture of it when it's closed, it's going to have that kind of picture with written chicken plants. Stuff like that we wanted to making the player know that he took the picture of something special, and we kind of designed it for it, and it's our way to reward him for that. It's a cool way, I think, to reward the player for that. And with the the two young explorers, that we had that kind of scrapbooking energy that I was always like, what about make like our final year presentation was like with tapes anywhere and pins and pictures and stuff like that. Maybe this could have been pushed even further to have like, you know, some kind of numerical scrapbook of those kind of specific pictures you made.
You would save them, right? Because I took a picture of something like really colorful, and I was like, okay, cool. But I
Oh yeah. So you had one of those.
I had one of those. Yeah. I had an achievement. How many achievements are there in the game?
I think there are 3 special pictures and 1 achievement for finishing the game. We actually could have put more of it, and we actually prototyped more of them. Since the experience is rather short, and we still wanted the player to focus on the gameplay and not forcefully on just taking pictures all the time, we took the design decision to put less achievements regarding the size of the game.
If you were going to connect, like, do you already have a group name in mind, or like, do you have a group name?
Second person games. No, for now it's the live adventure team, but that's kind of stupid idea. I said someday that we okay, just let's go open a studio and it's only going to be focused on second person game, like a coding second person game, like stuff like that. But I guess we just have no idea for the name right now.
What would you advise like students or starters when they start to make game? Like, would you have some starters advice?
Sleep well, that's important.
Sleep well, okay, yes.
Communication.
Definitely. Being curious about what the others do, being curious about not knowing how to do their work, but just knowing what they do and how does that impact your work and how does your work impact theirs. And that's really important to be able to work together. And of course, not being scared to test stuff and throw it away, because that's how things work in the industry when you iterate, because that's how you're going to just get the best thing. Like if we would have just kept the first idea we had, I don't know where we would be, but definitely not here.
Nice, yeah, that's some good advice as well. Especially nowadays, a lot of students think, I just stay at home because I have been with the pandemic at home, and it's kind of comfortable to be in my own little bubble. We create games together, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people just create games alone, like Inscription, who won like 5 awards at GDC, but
yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I think like for normal people, no, for groups like that, it's also cool to be able to count on each other and work together.
So yeah, what's the biggest technical challenge for making this game?
We worked with Unreal Engine. It was pretty cool to be able to count on an engine, because we just gained a lot of time, like really tremendous hours and stuff like that. It was really, really helpful. But working with an engine means you use that thing. That also means you don't have control over what you're using. And when it doesn't work, good luck. We had a lot of, for example, lighting issues and stuff like that were really, really hard to address, especially because none of us is from very technical background. Francois and I were from game design, Francois cinema before that, Vincent game design, or other game designers, only that. Same thing for the artists. The technical artists, he was just like learning as he was working on the project. So when we had some major issues using the software, it was sometimes really difficult. I mean, the thing that made us win a lot of time, but the thing that made us lost some time also. But yeah, it was maybe the most challenging part was being able to overcome the technical issues from the software.
I hear a lot of lighting issues, right? So how did you kind of solve those?
It's kind of like when you're working on the game engine, you're mostly working with its tools, which is good, but all tools have constraints. So each time you encounter a problematic, you're kind of trying to find a workaround this problematic. So we did find a workaround for the lighting, actually, but a compromise from what we wanted to have in the end. But it's always like that. Like most of the time, Unreal just saves us a lot of time. But when we were about to polish the game, we had to find a lot of workarounds to make the game react the way we wanted.
So sometimes it just worked perfectly well. Like the moment when you fell in the rabbit hole, we wanted to have some kind of smooth lighting transition and stuff like that, or loading that is going to be faster and stuff like that. But just make a black screen and it actually just does the work. So learning how to live with those constraints and find some design solutions that fits the intention and is much more practical to implement in the game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good skill to have as a developer, to be able to, oh, this is a problem, this is obstacle, it's either a feature or it's going to be, you need to work around it, right? Yeah, for you Andre, it's also like, did you work before with Unreal, for example?
During the 4 years of Rebecca, we used Unreal to do a 3D environment. But I wanted to talk more about the lighting issue. In Live Adventure, we had a canopy, so everything is under shadow. But in a game, we mainly use lighting to guide the player and to help him to find the right path in the game. So we had to fake all the lighting to guide the players.
So it's a cluster of point lights, or?
We used point light and spotlight, and we have some in the game to guide the player. Do you see the scene where you have the first altar in the game? It's we fake the lighting to guide the player to go to the first altar, and we used some visual effect. We used some fireflies to guide the player.
Ah, yeah, that's smart. That's really smart. So, I don't have the right light source. Yeah, just have a bunch of fireflies flying in that direction. Nice.
I've also thought about something, technical issue we all had. It was the optimization.
Yeah. Oh.
In our school was having the same problem, optimization. Yeah, we are taught to make games, but not to make optimized games. So when you want to make a 30 minutes long game, well, it's running on your PC because it has like the best configuration you can have on the market. If you want the guy who has like the worst PC in the world to run your game, it's a totally different world. It's like you're dealing with issues and you do not know how to deal with them. I think that's the most difficult part for us. When we were trying to release the game, we had some bugs, obviously, but we also had these issues that were remaining in our game, and we tried to fix them, but it's definitely like something we could have we couldn't have fixed without time and also experience.
Do you have some tips of when you're really stuck on those moments?
We tried to like see if that kind of stuff happened to other groups. It was really cool to be able to just talk with other groups that also work with Unity or Unreal. Sometimes fall on the same kind of issues. And we also have teachers which were less present, but it was also a good way sometimes to find some solutions. But yeah, talking with other groups was definitely helping.
Yeah, this was a very interesting interview. It was really cool to talk with all of you. This is very inspiring, I'm sure, for a lot of other students as well. What is your last advice or something you want to share that we haven't covered one by one?
I'm grateful for working with everyone in the team. It was really a blast to work with them the entire time. We were on, and not only the member of our team, but also the one that our externals, because they were very talented, and each of them really brought something to the game. So yeah, I'm very grateful to all of them. And if I have an advice, I'll say like always listen to people when they are trying to say something, have an idea, or trying to bring something to the game, because even though it's not maybe fitting to the game experience, you can always get something out of it. Be open-minded and try to discover new things while you're working on the game, because that's something you kind of forget while you're working on it, because you're so focused on what you're doing that sometimes you forget that there are maybe like better things on the way you can add to the game, but you're so lost in your thoughts that you don't take the time to listen to them and actually consider them.
If I have an advice, is to focus on the quality and not on the quantity. The main issues that the student have is to want to do a full game, but it's better to have a shortest experience but a good experience than a longest and boring experience.
For myself, what I really loved on Light Adventure was the ability as a programmer to just try a lot of stuff, work with a game designer, being some kind of an explorer myself in the middle of design and prototyping. That's what was really cool as a gameplay programmer, to be able to just try a lot of ideas and have an idea the next day and try it out and find the best thing you can offer to a player. That would be my advice. Just don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to have stupid ideas and to try them out. It might just work really well. Sometimes it might not work at all, but you might have learned something on the way.
Nice. Vincent?
Iteration, as a designer, iteration is a key, and I think it never works at the first time. It's not the best mechanics, design, or whatever at the first iterations. It always starts with the worst thing that you can even imagine. Today I'm a level designer. I know that every level starts really bad. The key is to just iterate and focus on what is the real problem behind the design. Iterate and until it's good. For the players. So iteration is key. And if I have an advice for students in game development, I would say never be afraid to try something that sounds silly or stupid. I think we learn a lot from everything that is just think out of the box. I advise to play bad games, what they thought is a bad game. It's easier to see some design issues when a game is bad or considered bad.
What is your best bad game then?
It's one of my favorite game of all time. It's an old game called Tenchu Z in America. A stealth game with a lot of UI and UX issues, but it still has the fantasy of playing a ninja and use your ninja tools to sneak and assassinate some targets in some huge maps.
Nice. Okay. I have never heard about that, but that is interesting. Yeah, thank you very much for being here and sharing all your advices. It was acreates. I hope you enjoyed this interview with these friends, awesome people. Next month I'm going to have a talk with Greek Zero Memories. It's an amazing platform game. Most likely I have the name wrong, but it is amazing. I'm going to play it next month. So keep tuned for that. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.